Hi everyone, Simon here with a review of Fight and Rage. Fight and Rage is a side-scrolling beat-em-up a la Streets of Rage and Double Dragon. It is proper from the 16-bit generation and it's available on PlayStation 4, which is the version you see on your screen, but also Nintendo Switch, Xbox One and PC. I don't believe it's gone for the gimmick of shoving it out on a Mega Drive yet, but some of the other games recently have been doing this and I bet they could get a little niche audience doing so, getting it out on a cart. Now, this game reminds me so much of what I used to love about these side-scrolling beat-em-up games before they started getting cheap and cheerful and being highly repetitive for no specific reason. You can have 1 to 3 players playing locally within this game of Fight and Rage, and you also have multiple story and stage branching paths as well, which really throws out the monotony sometimes of what you can get with these types of games. So in some of the levels at the very beginning you can choose left or right, and in doing so you have a completely different story experience. You kind of eventually converge back and go down the same route eventually, but the way how you get there is different. I really appreciated that. That, alongside with some of the excellent retro graphics that are going on. There's some filters that you can turn on or off to try and make it less of a CRT screen, which I appreciated. I'm not a massive fan of the CRT screen kind of effects that are going on. That's one of the things that I'm quite happy to drop from retro games. I'm quite happy with pixel art and all of that stuff, but just make it nice and clean. Thank you very much. But the option's there to have it on or off whether you want. And the beauty of this game comes really from its in-depth combo and battle system that goes on throughout the game. And I didn't really appreciate it initially. I come to these games quite often with a bit of a button mash mentality because I think, oh, it's arcade, I'll just smash the buttons and I'll be fun. But with Fight and Rage, there is a really complex combo system that's going on behind the scenes, and it's the training and tutorial option that's kind of hidden away in some of the menus that really kind of opened my eyes to how deep this game can be. And once you kind of click onto that, my perception of Fight and Rage changed. When I played it for the first 2 times and I was button mashing, I was getting very frustrated at the fact that some of the levels felt quite long, that there was waves of enemies coming in, and I just kind of felt like it was dragging out a grind, and it felt overly kind of stuffing full of the same thing over again. And I was like, no, I just want progression for me to get on. And that progression was very much fueled by the fact that there's so much to unlock, and the coin payout was being quite measly, and I was like, come on, don't make me grind for all of my content please too hard. Then I went into the tutorial and it kind of opened my eyes to how stupid I was to just be button mashing away and not realising that there was actually quite a lot of skill involved, and if you get the timing right, and it takes a while to kind of get used to it, that those waves become much more satisfying because you can kind of show off to yourself, and if you've got other mates on board, and sadly I don't have footage of me playing multiplayer, but I have had a quick go, and the ability to kind of team off and be like, right, we'll take that side, you'll take that side, and you'll be like kicking someone over to the other person and then they'll kick up on the combos. It elevated the game from being kind of mediocre to okay to being much better than what I originally thought it was. And that for me as a gamer kind of it threw me out a bit of a surprise. So my advice to you, if you're going to go and play Fight and Rage and this really looks like a game up your street, is to not dive straight into the game modes itself and get into story, is to go into the training mode and really invest in all of those different types of combos, particularly as each character has their own set and like range and stats. Find out the ones that work for you, almost like a proper traditional beat 'em up where people are like, Kitana's my queen, and worship and all of that kind of stuff, and you have people that are like, I only play blah blah blah. I can almost see Fight and Rage falling into that kind of mentality because you can really pick and go with the characters that you want. I really got on well with the giant pig character, I've forgotten his name now, but the way how I played worked really well with his style, and so I found that I was able to do much better with him than with some of the other characters, even if they are faster and more nimbler. It was just the way how I played. And so then taking that knowledge into the story mode meant that the game felt like actually it was going at the right pace. I could then start playing out of the combos and really changing up and the variations of how I could fight. And actually it then meant that I could get much further in the game as well, because you do need to start switching up your tactics as you go through round after round, and the enemies get more and more progressively tougher and more difficult, and a little bit more savvy with what you're doing. The other thing that I wanted to shout out about is how great the soundtrack is. Now, I love the chiptune soundtrack, but this is one of the better ones that came out in 2019. Thoroughly enjoyable, so of the era of the side-scrolling beat-em-ups, and plenty of anthems to be had. And there's also tons of unlockables for this game as well. As you play through each of the story modes and you get to the end, you can then collect coins, or when you die and it's game over, you collect coins that you can then use for unlocking a variety of different characters. Some of them are like NPCs, so they only have a couple of moves, but you can still have a go with them. Or you can just unlock backstory stuff, cards, that kind of thing. Plenty of fun to be had there. There's probably going to be a little bit of a grind in there for you if you want to see everything. But the drip of new modes and stuff like that, because you can see some of it in the store and then some of it becomes unlockable for you to then purchase in the store, it drip feeds it in a way that keeps you coming back. It's not going to be one that you're going to be spending like hours and hours and hours on end playing to try and get through, but it's best played if you do it at half-hour chunks at a time, couple of mates on board, you'll have a good giggle, then you'll kind of leave it and come back. But it'll be one of those ones that, so long as you understand how the combo system works and how fluid it can be, you get so much more out of it and then you'll want to come back. My only regret was that I didn't have that at the very beginning, and I went in eagerly and blind and it was to my own detriment. And sometimes you can get away with that quite a lot with games, particularly when you've got a large collection and you've got things to go for review. And this was a lesson to myself, I think. Take the time, learn how things work, and yeah, Fight and Rage gave me a much better experience as a result. This game is out now, and yeah, it's an interesting one to have a 3-player side-scrolling beat-em-up back in action again, particularly as we've got things like Streets of Rage 4 coming up quite soon. This will more than fill the void until Streets of Rage 4 is ready for your attention. And so much better than the latest Double Dragon game that came out on PlayStation 4. I was really disappointed with that. This is leagues ahead of that game. So yeah, go grab. Any questions or comments, please do leave them down below and I will get back to you on them if you've got any questions about how the game runs and all of that kind of stuff. I hope you enjoy, and I'll catch you again hopefully on another video here on Higher Plane Games. Doodle pip! Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a collection of media projects ran by me. If you like what you see and want to find out more, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support can make so much more possible, be that a like, a comment, a share, or a pledge. Thanks for watching.